I will never forget the sound of the door slamming that night. It was January, the cold cutting through the air here in Columbus, Ohio. My usual routine. I had just turned off the TV when I heard the click of the doorknob, followed by the dull thud of the door closing. I thought it was the wind, but it wasn't. There was only a folded piece of paper left on the table, near the bowl where we used to toss our keys. I picked up the note with sweaty hands, too afraid to open it. Part of me already knew. I need to go. I don't know when I'll be back. That was it. No, I'm sorry. No, I love you. Nothing. I read and reread it until the words lost their meaning, until the paper crumpled in my hand. Our daughter, Olivia, was asleep. She was 16. I sat there for hours, staring at the wall clock frozen at 2:47 a.m., wondering how I was supposed to explain that her mother had left without looking back. I felt ridiculous. A man in his 40s, slumped against the doorframe, face wet, chest pounding like it was about to burst. In the morning, when sunlight slipped through the blinds, Olivia came downstairs in her pajamas and asked, "Where did Mom go?" I just showed her the note. She read it quickly, didn't cry, just stared into nothing for a few seconds, then went back upstairs and shut the door. 3 days went by without a single word between us. I cooked, cleaned, pretended everything was under control. Sometimes I'd stop by her bedroom door, hear faint music playing inside, and think about knocking, but I never did. I didn't know what to say. On the 4th day, she came downstairs, opened the fridge, poured some milk, and said, "Are we going to be okay?" I answered the only thing I could. "We'll try." And that's how it began. The first few months were a blur. Work, school, bills, silence. Everything blending together like the days had been glued one to the next. I'd wake up before sunrise, make coffee, then head to the shop. I worked fixing heating and air conditioning systems. In the winter, the calls never stopped. When I came home, Olivia was usually in her room. Sometimes the light under the door gave her away. I'd leave dinner on the table and say, "It's hot, eat before it gets cold." She'd reply with a short, "Okay," eyes still glued to her phone. Our routine became a kind of choreography. She studied, I worked, she slept, I washed the dishes. The only decent conversation we had was on Sundays when we went grocery shopping. She'd push the cart, I'd cross items off the list. It was our way of communicating. Practical, almost mechanical, but real. I remember the first time I tried to cook something special, fettuccine with white sauce, her favorite dish. I got excited. When I called her to the table, she looked, smiled faintly, and said, "It's great, Dad." I knew it was salty, but that small compliment meant more than anything else. Every now and then, I'd find old photos of her mother, in a frame, in a drawer, or forgotten in some digital album. I always felt like throwing them away, but I never did. I'd put them back, as if refusing to erase a piece of the past. And on bad days, I'd catch myself thinking that maybe Olivia was more like her mother than I wanted to admit. The quiet nature, the distant gaze when something hurt. There were also little rituals that kept the house breathing. Friday nights with pizza and a movie, even if I fell asleep halfway through watching almost nothing. The old car we washed together in the yard every couple of months. Those things gave the illusion that we were fine, but we weren't. Inside me there was an ugly mix of pride and resentment. Pride for raising her without letting her lack a thing. Resentment for feeling that none of it was ever enough. Sometimes when she laughed at something on her phone, I'd catch myself thinking, does she still need me? Other times when I came home exhausted and saw dinner waiting, reheated by her, I thought, maybe we're doing okay in our own way. Deep down, I just wanted to hear her say I was doing a good job. The first time I heard her mother's name again was on an ordinary Thursday. Olivia walked into the kitchen, phone trembling in her hand, and said, "Mom texted me." Her mother, after 7 full years of complete silence, sending a message. No apology, no context, just, "Hi, honey, I'd like to see you." I didn't know what to say, just muttered, "Oh," and kept stirring my coffee. Truth is, my hands were shaking. Over the next few days, Olivia changed. Happier, more distracted. Spent hours texting, laughing to herself, making plans. I pretended not to notice. Part of my role was not to interfere, not to seem bitter. Their first meeting was at a Starbucks downtown. Olivia went alone, said it was better that way to keep things from getting awkward. She was right. I would have ruined the moment. When she came back, her face looked split in half. One side smiling, the other tense. I asked how it went. She said, "It was good, different. She's married now." And before I could ask, she added, "To a guy named Greg." That name buzzed in my head for days. Greg. Generic enough to have no face, but with a sound that irritated me. Greg. Later, out of curiosity or masochism, I Googled the name. First result, Gregory L. Crawford, financial consultant in Cleveland. Photo in a fancy suit, perfect smile, glass building behind him. He had everything I never did. Imported car, perfect teeth, a watch worth a few months of my pay. I closed the laptop and stared at the ceiling, trying to understand why it still got to me. I should have been over it by now, right? A few weeks later, Olivia told me she wanted me to meet them. She said it naturally, that plural, as if a ready-made family package already existed. She arranged a meeting at a casual restaurant, some kind of neutral ground. I got there 15 minutes early. When I saw my ex-wife walk in, my stomach tightened. She looked younger, like time had moved in slow motion for her and fast-forwarded for me. Beside her, Greg, the kind of man who shakes your hand while staring straight into your eyes, wearing that professional smile that says absolutely nothing. "It's good to see you," she said, like someone greeting an old neighbor. "Yeah," I replied, because there was nothing else to say. Greg was polite, too polite. He asked about my job, complimented Olivia, told me they were helping her plan for the future, maybe even the wedding, a word that cut through me like a knife. During dinner, I spoke little. I just watched. Her mother kept touching Greg's arm every now and then, laughing in that rehearsed way. Olivia tried to mediate the conversation. At the end, when the check came, Greg pulled out his wallet and said, "I insist," and I let him. Because refusing would have sounded like pride, and accepting was easier than fighting. It wasn't anger, it was the feeling that once again I was being replaced. This time, officially. The topic came out of nowhere, as it always does. I was changing the furnace filter when Olivia walked into the garage, face glowing but nervous. "Dad, I need to tell you something," she said. The way she was breathing gave it away. "I'm getting married." It took me a few seconds to process it. Not because it was a total surprise. She'd been seeing someone for a while, but because hearing those words from her mouth felt like I'd fallen asleep and missed 10 years of my life. She spoke fast, excited, like someone afraid to lose the rhythm. The groom's name, the proposal, the ring, the restaurant where he got down on one knee. Everything sounded rehearsed but sincere. I just nodded, trying to keep up. In the days that followed, the house turned into a wedding planning lab. Guest lists scattered across the living room table, bridal magazines everywhere, spreadsheets open on her laptop. She'd come to me with venue ideas. Nashville, Asheville, even Vermont, each one pricier than the last. "Dad, have you seen this renovated barn? Look at that view. That one's beautiful, honey. What if it was in the fall, with the red leaves? It would be magical. Magical and impossible to afford, I thought, but didn't say. One Sunday, she came in holding a folder. "I know everything's expensive, but we'll figure it out. Mom and Greg said they want to help." The way she said help carried a different weight, as if it really meant take over. I smiled, or tried to. "Of course, honey. What matters is that you're happy." She hugged me, quick, like someone thanking you for something they haven't quite asked for yet. That week, I started noticing small changes. Olivia talked to me less, spent more time on the phone, and every time I walked into the room, she minimized her laptop screen. She was ashamed for me to see what they were discussing. Maybe the budget, maybe something about me. At dinner, the topic was always the same. Flowers, cakes, photographers, dresses. I made small comments, just enough not to seem out of place. But inside, I was fighting two voices. One said, "Let her grow up, it's normal." The other, "You raised her alone. Don't just fade into the background." So I started helping however I could, driving her to vendors, carrying fabric samples, searching for quotes online. It was my way of staying close without intruding. Every time she smiled and said, "Thanks, Dad," it felt like she was handing me a small piece of space in the new world she was building. And yet, there was something in the way she talked about Greg that made me uneasy. Greg has a friend who knows the owner of the venue. Greg thinks this photographer is more reliable. Greg said he could get us a discount with the caterer. My name never appeared in those sentences. I was just Dad, a neutral figure. And for the first time, I began to understand what it means to be present, but invisible. It was a Tuesday night, almost 9, when she appeared in the kitchen doorway. I was washing dishes. Olivia stood there for a few seconds, fidgeting with her fingers, as if rehearsing what she was about to say. "Dad, we need to talk." Those words never announce anything good. I dried my hands slowly, pulled out a chair, and waited. She took a deep breath. "Mom and Greg, well, they offered to pay for the entire wedding." I stayed silent. "It's a huge help, Dad. I know you already do so much, but they said they want everything to be perfect." I nodded. "If that's what you want, I'm happy for you." She looked down. "There's something else. They have one condition." I already knew. I didn't even need to hear the rest, but I let her say it. "They said that maybe it'd be better if you didn't come." I stared at her, trying to understand what the hell that meant. "What do you mean, better if I didn't come?" She tried to justify herself. "It's nothing personal, Dad, it's just, Greg thinks it might be uncomfortable. For Mom, for the atmosphere. You know how people talk. Uncomfortable for who exactly? For her? Or for her guy?" Olivia took a step back. "Dad, please don't do this. I just want the day to be peaceful." "And you think it'll be peaceful without your father there?" Silence. She didn't answer. "So that's it?" I asked. "They pay, and what am I now? A ghost?" She started crying. I don't want it to be like this, but it's the only way Mom will help. The word help sounded like a sentence. Help with a price. Help that buys space and erases people. And who's walking you down the aisle? I asked. She hesitated. Greg offered. That answer went right through me. Olivia wiped her tears with the back of her hand, repeating, I'm sorry, Dad. I just want peace. Peace. I couldn't say another word. I picked up the dish towel, wiped the table, and left the kitchen. In the hallway, I heard her sobbing. I locked myself in my room and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. And a question looped endlessly in my head. When did I stop being her father? I sat there without crying, without sleeping, just chewing on my own pride. The decision about the gift started as a quick, impulsive thought. After the conversation with Olivia about the condition, that polite form of banishment, I spent days walking around the house, trying to figure out what to do with everything that still tied me to her. The following Sunday, I opened the garage and pulled out a cardboard box sealed with blue tape. Inside were the documents for my grandparents' house, a property in Bloomington, Indiana, left to me when they passed away. I'd never lived there. It was the kind of place too beautiful for someone who'd already gotten used to modest living. The last time I'd been there was about 5 years ago. The house was made of red brick with a wide porch and a white fence my grandfather used to fix every fall, religiously. I could still picture him, cap on, thick gloves, hammering nails, whistling, Take Me Home, Country Roads. Back then, I used to imagine taking Olivia there when she got married. I could see it clearly. Her in a white dress, walking down the wooden staircase, my arm linked with hers, guests gathered in the garden. It was the most symbolic way I could think of to show love, giving her something that came from my roots. But now, the yellow deed in my hand felt like a different kind of inheritance, a reminder of everything I had held on to with too much hope. I sat at the table and spread out the papers. The deed, overdue taxes, market appraisal. The house was worth more than I remembered. Spacious, with a backyard and a double garage. A good start for anyone's life. And that's when the dilemma began. Should I really give that to a daughter who had cut me out of her own wedding? Or would keeping it be just another form of punishment, a small act of revenge to soothe my pride? That question ate at me for weeks. Part of me wanted to stick to the plan, hand over the keys and say, no matter what happened. Another part, the more human, more wounded part, wanted to keep the house, to prove there was still something they couldn't buy. I drove there one Saturday morning. The road to Bloomington was lined with trees. When I parked in front of the house, everything looked the same. The crooked gate, the fogged-up windows. I unlocked the door with the old key that still worked. And in that silence, I realized I couldn't just give that house away to someone who treated the past as an inconvenience. I didn't yet know who I'd give it to, but I already knew who I wouldn't. The idea came without warning. It was a Sunday. I was watching TV without really paying attention when the image of the Bloomington house flashed in my mind, and with it, a face. Lily, my niece. She'd always been the only one in the family who called just to ask if I was okay. Not, I need help. Not, can you lend me some money? She called to talk about college, her temporary job at a cafe, the economics tests she hated. A simple girl with a hard life, but a light that never went out. I called her on Monday. Hey, you free on Saturday? I want to show you something. Saturday came. Clear sky, straight road. Lily sat in the passenger seat, talking nonstop. About a guy she liked, about the fear of not affording next semester. I just listened. The more she talked, the clearer the contrast with Olivia became. When we turned onto the house's street, she went quiet. The neighborhood looked like something out of a postcard. Lined trees, perfect lawns, American flags hanging from porches. I parked, and she asked, Are we visiting someone? No, I said. The house is mine. Her eyes widened. Wow, this looks like something out of a movie. We walked through the garden, the tall grass brushing against our ankles. I handed her the key. Want to open it? She slid it into the lock, turned it slowly. Lily stepped inside cautiously, eyes scanning every detail. Then she turned to me, confused. Why'd you bring me here, Uncle? I pulled an envelope from my pocket and placed it on the counter. Because I want this house to be yours. It took her a few seconds to understand. What do you mean, mine? Literally. I want to transfer it to you. You'll know how to take care of it. She covered her mouth with her hands, eyes filling with tears. I can't accept this. You can, and you should, I said calmly. We stood there in silence. She looking out the window, me looking at the floor. That kind of silence that doesn't need explaining. On the drive back, she held the envelope on her lap, talking nonstop again, already dreaming, repainting rooms, planting flowers, maybe getting a dog. I just listened, a knot in my chest and a strange peace rising inside me. Monday, I went to the notary office, started the transfer paperwork. The clerk asked, Is it for your daughter? I hesitated 2 seconds before answering. It's for someone who deserves it. I signed, paid, and left. My daughter showed up on a Thursday afternoon, unannounced. I was chopping onions for dinner when I heard the car engine pull up in the driveway. I looked out the window and saw that silver sedan, the same one Greg had given her for Christmas. I set the knife down on the cutting board and took a deep breath. When she walked in, "Dad, we need to talk." I left the knife in the sink and wiped my hands. She sat down at the kitchen table, adjusting her hair like she was about to give an important presentation. Her hands were trembling a little. "I heard about the house," she started. "The one in Bloomington." The air suddenly felt heavier. I stood by the counter just listening. I thought that house would be mine one day. You always said you wanted to give it to me when I got married. I don't understand why you decided to give it to someone else. Someone else. Not even saying the name. Just that. Someone else. "Lily," I corrected gently. "Her name is Lily." She swallowed hard, eyes dropping to the floor. "I know, it's just that, Dad, it's not fair." For a second, I wanted to ask her to stop, but she kept going. "I'm your daughter. I made mistakes, okay? But I'm still your daughter. You should want the best for me. And you think the best is a house?" I asked. "Or what the house represents?" Her tears began to form. Slow, deliberate. "Don't talk to me like that. I just want to understand why you shut me out. Please, Dad, don't do this to me. I need that house. It would be the start of my new life." "You already started your new life," I said, "when you chose who would walk you down the aisle." She went silent, and for a moment the mask of hurt slipped, revealing something raw underneath, anger. "So you're choosing Lily over me?" she said, her voice sharp. "I'm choosing the one who stood by me when no one else did." The silence between us thickened. "Fine," she said finally. "Then tell me what I have to do to fix this." I looked at her, the same look that had convinced me of so many things before, and realized how much I wanted to believe her again, but I couldn't. I raised my hand slightly, trembling, and simply said, "No." She blinked, confused. "What do you mean, no? There's no fixing this. Not this time. Do you hate me?" "No. I'm just choosing myself for once." She grabbed her purse, eyes red, and walked toward the door. Before leaving, she looked back. "I hope someday you understand." The door closed slowly behind her. The sound of the latch was identical to that night her mother left. The same sharp click, only this time without surprise. This time I knew exactly what it meant. The end. I sat on the couch, staring at the floor, my hands still trembling. 3 weeks after that conversation, I got a call late at night. It was Mark, an old family friend, the kind who always knows things before everyone else. "I don't know if you want to hear this, but I think you should know," he said. "Olivia's wedding isn't happening anymore." Silence. "What do you mean?" "She was caught with another guy." He paused awkwardly, embarrassed. "The groom came home and found them together." I closed my eyes, the phone still pressed against my ear. Mark kept talking, explaining details I didn't want. Names, places, who told who. But my mind had already shut off. That girl who didn't want my name on the guest list was now gossip in the neighborhood. Part of me felt anger. Another part, pity. She was still my daughter after all. I thought about calling. I couldn't. Thought about ignoring it. Couldn't do that either. In the end, I sent a short message. No commas, no apologies. "Heard what happened. I'm sorry. Hope you're okay." I sent it, and immediately regretted it, but I didn't delete it. She never replied. The following days I went to work as usual, but any mention of family or weddings tightened my chest. Sometimes, during breaks, I'd watch the other fathers at the shop, men who still got calls from their kids, men who were still remembered, and I felt like a stranger among normal people. I tried to imagine what she was feeling. Shame, fear, or just that emptiness that hits when everything collapses and no one shows up to pick you up. For a moment, I almost wished she would call, just to hear Dad, but the phone stayed silent. After that, I didn't mention her for a long time, but life, as always, found a way to bring her back, in a way I didn't expect. It was a Thursday night. I'd just gotten home from work. Olivia, sitting on the front steps, knees pulled to her chest, holding a small suitcase. "How did you get in here?" I asked, though I already knew. She lifted the keychain, the spare key I'd given her years ago, for emergencies, and she smiled awkwardly, knowing she was crossing a line. "Dad, I didn't have anywhere else to go." I stood in the doorway, trying to decide what to feel first. Anger, surprise, compassion. "Olivia, you can't just walk in like this," I said. "I told you I needed space." "I know," she swallowed hard. "But Mom doesn't want to see me. And Greg? Him neither. They lost everything they'd paid for the wedding. Just for a few days," she said. "Until I find somewhere else. I promise." I closed my eyes for a second. Part of me wanted to say yes, to do what any father would, but something inside told me that if I gave in now, I'd go right back to being the man who swallowed everything just to keep other people's peace. "Olivia, I can't. Please, Dad. I'm trying to start over." "So am I," I said. "And this is how." She was crying now, openly. Real tears this time. Unplanned, raw. Even so, I knew. Boundaries were necessary. If you want, I can help you find a shelter or talk to someone in the family, I said. But not here. She took a step forward. You're really going to let me walk out into the rain? I'm trying not to let you destroy what little of me I have left. Anger flared in her eyes. You've changed. Maybe I finally became myself. For a moment, I thought she'd yell or break something, but she just stood there, then whispered, I hate you for this. I know, I said, but it'll pass. She grabbed the suitcase and walked to the door. Before leaving, she looked back. If I walk out now, I'm not coming back. Then I hope wherever you go, you find yourself, I said. The door opened slowly. She waited a few seconds, then left without looking back. I stood there, motionless, closed the door, and for the first time in many years, I felt a strange kind of peace. She needed to face her own path now, and I needed to learn not to keep saving her from it. I'm not the kind of man who talks much. But one night, after everything, I opened my laptop, went into some random forum, and started typing. Nothing planned, just a venting. The title was simple, When Your Own Child Cuts You Out of Their Life. I wrote for almost 2 hours. Didn't use names, didn't give too many details, just enough for someone to understand what it feels like to be left behind by the person you raised. I posted it and closed the computer, thinking no one would ever read it. 2 days later, the post had hundreds of comments. People sharing similar stories, parents, mothers, regretful children. Some called me a hero. Others said I should have forgiven her. I read everything in silence. My heart split between relief and embarrassment. That's when I got her message. Olivia. 3 short lines. Cold. Direct. I saw your post. You exposed our life to strangers. Congratulations, Dad. Now the whole world knows how much you play the victim. I didn't reply. Closed the chat and turned my phone face down. I'd already said everything I needed to, even if she was never the audience I'd hoped to reach. Weeks later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she'd rented a tiny studio in Toledo. 1 room and a kitchen, old building, no elevator. And, ironically enough, I felt proud. For the first time, she was living on her own. Without Mom, without Greg, without me. Lily, on the other hand, was turning the Bloomington house into a real home. She sent photos to my phone. New curtains, walls painted a soft green, a mutt she'd adopted from a shelter. Her messages always ended the same way. Thanks again, Uncle. I swear I'll honor this place. 3 years passed. When I drive to Bloomington now, the road feels smaller. My grandparents' house is unrecognizable. Lily transformed it completely, with a lightness I never managed. And that spring Saturday, she was getting married there, to the same guy who, on the day she first saw the house, had told me in the car that he liked her. I arrived early, wearing a light shirt, no tie, didn't want to draw attention. Lily appeared in a simple dress, her hair tied up. When she saw me standing in the back, she gave a discreet wink. During the ceremony, I realized I didn't feel that old heaviness in my chest anymore, just a quiet sense that things, somehow, had fallen into place. After the party, she came up to me, hugged me tight without saying a word. As I helped stack the chairs, someone whispered that they'd seen recent pictures of Olivia, married again, living in Cincinnati, with another last name, no invitation, no news, no resentment. The information went through me with an unexpected calm. This time it didn't hurt. On the way home, I drove in silence. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that love doesn't die. It just changes address.